Hi guys, it's Anna Marie. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. I talk about books, mostly fantasy. It is July. It's July 1st right now, which is weird, crazy. I don't understand how that happened, but we're here. I am determined to get through my TBR for July. I have, in the previous 2 months, I have done a horrible job of sticking to my TBR. I create a TBR of like 12 to 15 books and I just fail terribly. I have been doing well reading wise. Like last month I read 10 books. The month before that I read 9. So like I'm not doing terribly, but I just don't stick to my TBR because I make it so terribly long. So this month I'm shortening it. So there aren't any big readathons or anything that are going on this month. There is the Becca's Bookopoly-a-thon. There's that. Apparently you can't create a TBR for that, so I'm gonna wait for that. I am doing a couple of buddy reads, so I will talk about those first. The first buddy read I am doing is with my aunt, and I'm so excited. So not a lot of people in my family like to read. I've tried to force it on them, it does not work, but the one person in my family who does like to read is my aunt. So we are doing a buddy read this month and I'm so excited. She does have kind of a different taste in books than I do. I read mostly fantasy and she reads a lot of like thrillers, contemporary, that sort of thing. So we're trying to give each other recommendations for each genre because I want to read more thrillers. We have found a similar interest though on one book, and that is N.K. Jemisin's The City We Became. And it is a new release that I've had my eye on for a while. I have seen a lot of great reviews. I've never read N.K. Jemisin before, but she has such a huge backlist of books that I want to get to, especially it's not the Inheritance trilogy, that's Aragon. The first book is The 100,000 Kingdoms, and then also the 5th season, and I'm also unsure of that trilogy name, but she has a lot of books that I want to get to. I'm going to read with my aunt The City We Became. And from what I have heard, it is about New York and how the different boroughs of New York have a soul. Like each one has a soul. So it sounds like a little bit of magical realism. And I've heard that the villain in the story is basically a super evil Karen on steroids. I don't know. I've heard that. I'm really excited for that. I think it'll be really fun to do a buddy read with my aunt because we've always been big readers and we've always talked about it, but like I don't know if we've ever read the same book at the same time, so I'm excited. I will also be reading, I've already started reading Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. I'm not very far in at all, maybe like 2%, but I am definitely reading that this month. I loved the first book so much, I cannot explain to you the plot because it's such an epic high fantasy that there are so many different cultures, characters, things going on that it's very hard to explain. I also want to read The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. It is coming in one of my, I added it as an extra in my Book of the Month box because the first time around I didn't get it because it wasn't a fantasy, to be honest. But then I read the synopsis and I've heard a lot of people really enjoyed it. So I added it in this month on my box because it's not one that I usually read, but it sounds really interesting. So I want to read that. I think it is about 2 sisters, identical twins, and it's basically about their racial identity. They can pass for white, and I think one sister basically hides her race from everyone around her and can pass for white, and the other sister kind of embraces her identity and is not really ashamed of her identity as a Black woman. So one lives in a white world and one lives in a Black world, is what I've heard. So that sounds really interesting, especially with everything that's going on lately. So I'm excited about reading that. There's also a middle grade that I want to get to, or it may be YA, but it's called The Beast Player by Nahoko Yuhashi. I know it is based off of some sort of Asian mythology, which I've been reading a ton of lately. I'm not sure specifically what kind, but it is a fantasy about a girl who has special powers and is able to speak with magical beasts or communicate with them. She can speak to these magical water serpents, and one of the beasts dies mysteriously, and our main character Ellen, her mother, is blamed for the beast's death and is put to death. So to protect her daughter, with her dying breath, she sends her daughter away to a safer place. And here, Ellen learns that not only can she communicate with the water serpents, but she can also communicate with these flying beasts that protect their queen. And I think that ability kind of puts her in a dangerous position. So that's all I know. It sounds very interesting. I know that the second one in that series comes out next year, or maybe later this year. I'm not sure. But I really want to read this one so I can read the second one when it comes out. I also want to read a new release that is called A Song of Wraiths and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown. This is a new YA fantasy inspired by West African folklore. And it sounds like it has an incredible hate to love romance, or enemies to lovers romance. So we have two characters who need to kill each other. They both have their reasons. One is trying to resurrect her mother from the dead. Her mother was the queen, and she wants to use this ancient magic that requires sacrifice. And the sacrifice is killing a king, basically. So she decides to have a competition for her husband. So since basically she's the queen now, she's going to have a competition to find her next husband. And once he becomes the king, she's going to kill him and bring her mother back from the dead. We also have this young man who is coming into... our female main character, the princess, is named Karina. So we have this young man named, what's his name? Malik, and he is coming into Karina's city for this big festival that they have going on, and he's coming with his sisters. But when he gets to the city, one of his sisters is abducted by this like dark spirit, and he makes a deal to get his sister back. He's going to somehow kill Karina. So they both are trying to kill each other, and they both have very good reasons for doing so. So I'm so excited to read this because Reagan from Peru's Project said that she loved it. So I cannot wait to read this. Another YA fantasy, this month is going to be filled with YA fantasies. It's cool. Is Kingdom of Souls by Rena Barron. And I've actually had this book for a while. I got it at a secondhand bookstore, I don't know, a couple months back. And I don't know if it's brand new either. It's been out for a bit. But I decided to pick it up because I just saw Ashley from Our Frolic Through Fiction read it, and also Beth from Beth's Books Nest read it, and they both loved it. So it says it's perfect for fans of Sarah J. Maas, Tomi Adeyemi, and Black Panther. I haven't read anything by Tomi Adeyemi, but Sarah J. Maas and Black Panther, let's do it. That's all I want. So our main character is named Ara, and it seems like she comes from a very long line of powerful witches, but she is not able to do magic. She is trying, and she cannot seem to manifest her abilities. So it sounds like in her world, she can trade years of her life for magic. Does she want to sacrifice years of her life to buy magical abilities? And it also sounds like there is a darker force that is threatening to kill a lot of people in her kingdom, and just kind of it's the mysterious danger aspect that we're not quite sure of, but it's in there. And Ara has to decide, is she going to buy her magic and sacrifice years of her life, or find a way to master her magic without having to sell years of her life to do it. So this sounds really, really interesting, and I love the idea of sacrificing years of your life for magic. I don't think I've read that anywhere else, so that should be interesting. I also really want to pick up Jade City by Fonda Lee. I've seen so many people read it, and it's another Asian-inspired fantasy, and it's actually set in a city. Like, it's still in a fantasy. It's not an urban fantasy, but it's set in a city, and it is set in a world where they have jade, and that is basically their source of power, and only certain people can wield it. And so obviously it's a commodity. So I really want to read that this month. Hopefully I can get to it. I also am doing it's for a book club. Jessie May and Joshana are doing their book club for this month. Their read for the book club is Malice by John Gwynne. I've had this book for a while. I think I even have the first two. I know it's a high adult fantasy. So I don't know anything about it, but I've really wanted to pick it up, and this is a good excuse to do that. And then I have the last two, which are, I don't know if I'm gonna read these. I really don't know. I want to read Holy Sister this month by Mark Lawrence as well. It's very short. It's the shortest one in the series, which kind of scares me because that's not the case with a lot of fantasy trilogies. Usually the last one is the longest, so I'm kind of scared it's going to leave me wanting more. But I'd love to get to that this month. I'd love to read another volume of Full Metal Alchemist. See, here I go again, making my TBR unrealistic. I can't stop. I'd also love to start Priory of the Orange Tree. Stop it now. I'm gonna stop. I'll read some books this month. I will. So that is my July TBR, short and sweet and to the point. Not short at all, actually way too long. I usually read around 10 books a month, so I think I will be able to read most, if not all of them, and we will see at the end of this month. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're staying safe and healthy, and I will see you again next time.